We'll stay in the NFC South. We'll talk about the Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Panthers
Okay.
coming off a thrilling overtime victory, and they're just a better team overall, really, over the last 4 weeks. The Bucs,
Sure.
a disappointing loss against the Dallas Cowboys, where the defense just did not play very well, and then you had a gut wrenching, heart wrenching fumble to
Fumble.
end that game. Of course, if you're a Cowboys fan, you absolutely loved it. If you're a Bucs fan, you were sick to your stomach as you turned off your TV there. So, what's the matchup that mattered here in this one, Carmen?
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to as long as the Bucks are still playing. It's going to be whoever's matched up against Mike Evans. I'm thinking J.C. Horn. Mike Evans' weekly tally needs 182 yards in the next 2 games, so 91 yards average each. Didn't I think it was 68 yards in this last game, 69 yards. Uh, JC's allowing just a 50% completion rate. Ranks 13th among corners with a minimum of 100 snaps, but he has allowed 5 touchdowns, which is tied for the eighth most. And he's got just a 14.5% forced incompletion rate, which ranks 32 among qualified corners. So if they do actually put JC Horn on Mike Evans, I'm taking Mike Evans in that matchup 10 times out of 10 times. So, and I do think that again, when they're acutely aware of the record that Mike has and also have everything to play for, given that they have to they have to go undefeated the rest of the way, 2 games, with the Atlanta Falcons winning this last week. It's a really tight race. And that stinks because they had the opportunity to win against the Cowboys this last game and kind of take some of the pressure off. But yeah, I just think that the Mike Evans J.C. Horn matchup, if that's indeed who they end up putting on him, is going to be the one that matters because they're going to still try and feed Mike and get him to 1,000 yards.
So the Bucs need to keep pace with the Falcons, who now own the tiebreaker in the division. Now that they are tied with the Atlanta Falcons, so they need to win out. There's no doubt about it. It's an interesting game against Carolina because in Week 13, a couple weeks ago, they beat the Carolina Panthers in overtime, but it was a game in which Chuba Hubbard fumbled and the Bucs took over, were able to march down the field, kick a field goal, and win the game. My matchup that matters here is both of these teams run defense because back in Week 13, in a funny match of numbers here. Back in Week 13, Bucky Irving rushed for 152 yards against Carolina Panthers in that overtime win that the Bucs had. Chuba Hubbard last week rushed for 152 yards in their overtime win against the Arizona Cardinals. Hubbard, who there were pictures of him after everyone had left the field and the field was basically completely empty outside of the people who were cleaning the field. Hubbard was still sitting on the bench after fumbling and losing. I don't want to say like he lost the game, but fumbled the game. Bucs get it. They score. He thinks it's his fault. He's still sitting on the bench long after the game is over, long after the players have gone to the locker room. You know that he would love nothing more as a player who's got a hot hand right now coming off of a 150-yard game against the Cardinals. And he was the winner in OT last week. He got the carry.
Yes.
A guy had a clean shot on him. I can't remember exactly who it was. Went to tackle him. He bounces off of it and then sprints into the end zone. A little bit of an overtime redemption for them, especially with it being in the same stadium. To be able to do that to the home fans, you love to see it. They want to run the football, and when you think about how the Bucs lost last week's game, it was Rachaad White fumbling the football. It was Bucky Irving who was not on the field for the last 9 minutes of the game. Bucky Irving's going to get the damn football this week. Chuba Hubbard is going to get the damn football this week. And whichever one of these two teams stops the other one in run defense, that's the one who I think is going to win. Because it's the formula that both of these teams want to win the game. And it is situationally, given what's happened recently, given what happened in Week 13, exactly what both teams are going to want to do. So I think that the run defense units of both these teams are the matchup that matters here.
And you see that Carolina right now ranks dead last in run defense grade. So that you think that the Bucs have the edge there, but they are also bottom third when it comes to run defense, which is very uncharacteristic of the Bucs defense. And you hope that can be better. But that leads right then into my plus factor, which is Lavonte David. Because of what he can do against the run, because he is that rangy middle linebacker. And last game against the Cowboys, it went okay, but they didn't utilize Lavonte David in the pass rush as much as they had the week prior. And in coverage, Lavonte David ended up giving up a touchdown. He only had 2 quarterback pressures against Dallas. And then you contrast that with what they were able to do against the Chargers and in week 15. Levante David had over double the amount of blitzes than he did against Dallas. So he had 7 against Dallas, 15 against the Chargers, and was extraordinarily productive, had a sack and a half, and it was all over the field. And that was something that really propelled the defense to the performance that it had against the Chargers. And I think that that's something, I mean, Levante David is the one that's calling the defense right now, or at least has been kind of in and out with other linebacker injuries happening. So everything really revolves around Levante David, and especially with Antoine Winfield Jr. out, you think that these are your kind of two best guys in the back levels of the defense. Obviously, you have Vita Vea and Kalecha Kancey up front, but these are the orchestrators, and Levante David is having to do it kind of on his own. So how the Bucs do against the run, but also trying to get pressure on Bryce Young, it worked really, really well against the Chargers when you had Levante David involved in the pass rush a little bit more. Will they go back to that given how effective it was and then was not against the Dallas Cowboys? I don't know. I'm really interested to see how involved Levante David is, but I just know that Levante David is going to be a key piece when it comes to
my plus factor here is any Buccaneers corner.
Fair.
Any one of them. Because last week was terrible. Yeah. Last week was bad for this team. I mean, they were at it. It was a terrible passing grade for them overall. The highest coverage grade for any corner was Tyke Smith at just a 63.5. Zion McCollum was below a 60. Jamel Dean was below a 60. They've got to hold up their end of the bargain. And it feels like over the last month, the Bucs have gone through injuries. I want to make sure that I understand that. When you are down Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead, I know Jordan Whitehead was designated to return, but when you were down both of those players against the Dallas Cowboys, it's tough. It's just tough in general. They've gone through their injuries. I don't want to say that they haven't, but you've got to play better to win football games. So any Buccaneers corner has to play a lot better because Bryce is getting really confident, and he's getting confident throwing to basically anybody. Jalen Coker, Adam Thielen, David Moore. It doesn't like the tight ends. It doesn't matter. He is getting really confident, and if the Bucs corners don't play better, then Bryce is going to be able to keep pace with anything that Baker Mayfield could throw at this Carolina defense, who, like we just talked about with the Cardinals, limited Trey McBride to just 20 receiving yards, limited Marvin Harrison Jr. to just 38 receiving yards last week. So this is a fun matchup. This is going to be a really fun matchup, and I can't wait to watch that one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.